The Galactic Council had been deliberating for 3 cycles when Ambassador Velthor finally broke the silence. His crystalline form refracted the chamber's pale light into 1,000 anxious fragments across the obsidian walls. "We have no choice," he said, his voice resonating through the translation matrix. "The Devourers have consumed 17 systems in the Outer Rim. They're accelerating. At this rate, the core worlds fall within 2 standard years." Around the circular table, representatives from 43 species shifted uncomfortably. They all knew what Velthor was suggesting. They all knew what it meant. "You want to contact the humans," Council Prime Zarathos said, her 4 eyes narrowing in distaste. "They're quarantined for a reason," interjected the Kelty observer, his mandibles clicking nervously. The accords were clear. "Their aggression, their violence, their effectiveness," Velthor interrupted. "When the Kelty border worlds were raided by the Crimson Fleet, who ended the threat in 6 local days? When the Zentari plague threatened to wipe out half the civilized galaxy, who synthesized a cure in their primitive laboratories and distributed it freely? They also nearly triggered 3 wars in their first decade of contact," Zarathos countered. "Nearly," Velthor emphasized. "But they didn't, and now we need them." The vote was close. 22 in favor, 21 against. The message was sent. 3 days later, the human delegation arrived. Captain Sarah Chen stepped off the transport with the kind of confidence that made the assembled aliens uncomfortable. She was short by human standards, but something in her gait suggested a coiled spring ready to release. Behind her, a mixed team of military advisors and scientists filed into the council chamber, their eyes taking in everything with unsettling intensity. "You called," Chen said simply, declining the offered seat. "We're listening," Velthor presented the situation. The Devourers were unlike anything the galaxy had faced. They weren't conquerors or raiders. They were consumers. Entire planets stripped to bedrock. Populations harvested for biomass. Stars drained of energy to fuel their incomprehensible fleet. They didn't negotiate. They didn't communicate. They simply consumed. The Council had thrown everything at them. Quantum disruptors bounced off their hulls. Singularity bombs were absorbed and converted to energy. Biological warfare meant nothing to silicon-based entities. In 3 years, the Devourers had proven themselves unstoppable. Chen listened without interruption, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display of Devourer movements. When Velthor finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "You want us to fight them," she said. "Not a question. We want you to try what we cannot," Velthor admitted. "Your species has a unique approach to warfare." "You mean we're crazy?" Chen's lip quirked. "You're not wrong. What are you offering?" "Anything you need. Ships, resources, personnel, autonomy," Chen interrupted. "We do this our way. No council oversight, no bureaucratic delays, no committees. You've had 3 years and 43 species trying to solve this by committee. How's that working out?" The silence was answer enough. "You'll have your autonomy," Velthor said. "What do you need?" Chen smiled, and several council members felt their internal temperatures drop. Everything. Humanity mobilized with a speed that shocked the galaxy. While other species needed cycles to retrofit their fleets or reorganize their militaries, humans transformed their entire industrial capacity in 6 weeks. Factories that produced consumer goods began churning out weapons. Civilian ships were retrofitted with military-grade armor and weapon systems. Scientific teams that had been studying distant nebulae turned their attention to destructive potential. But it wasn't just the speed that unsettled the Council. It was the nature of what humanity built. "These are war crimes," Zarathos protested, reviewing the human weapons catalog. "Stellar implosion devices, planet cracker munitions, relativistic kill missiles. Half of these violate the warfare convention." "Conventions the Devourers never signed," Chen pointed out calmly. "You wanted us to stop them. You didn't specify how pretty it needed to be." The human fleet assembled at the edge of Devourer space. 147 ships, nowhere near the size of the Council's combined forces, but different, meaner. Each vessel bristled with weapons the galaxy had deemed too dangerous to deploy. Each crew was trained not in defensive maneuvers or diplomatic protocols, but in aggression, adaptation, and what humans called asymmetric warfare. When the Devourers detected the fleet, they responded as they always did. Overwhelming force. 300 Devourer ships converged, enough to consume a dozen worlds. The humans didn't retreat. They didn't defend. They attacked. The battle lasted 4 hours. Humans didn't try to match the Devourer's firepower. Instead, they exploited every weakness, created advantages where none existed, and fought with a creativity born of millennia of killing each other. They used the Devourer's mass against them, their absorption capability as a vector for weapon delivery, their predictability as a tactical flaw. When the Devourers tried to absorb energy weapons, humans fed them reactors set to overload. When they adapted to kinetic attacks, humans switched to exotic matter that violated physics in ways no sane species would weaponize. When the Devourers tried to drain a nearby star for reinforcements, humans collapsed it into a black hole that consumed a quarter of the enemy fleet. It wasn't elegant. It wasn't honorable. It was effective. By the end, the Devourer fleet was scattered debris. Human casualties numbered in the thousands, but they had won. The galaxy watched in horrified awe as humanity didn't stop. They pushed into Devourer space not to defend but to eradicate. They hunted the remaining fleets with a determination that bordered on obsessive. They found the Devourer's resource stations and obliterated them. They tracked their supply lines and cut them. 6 months later, the Devourer threat was eliminated. The Council convened to offer their thanks. Captain Chen, now Admiral Chen, stood before them. Her uniform was crisp, but her eyes carried the weight of the campaign. "You saved us," Velthor said. "The galaxy owes humanity an unpayable debt." "You asked for salvation," Chen replied. "We brought what we're good at. We brought the storm. Will you stay?" Zarathos asked cautiously. "Help us rebuild? Share your methods?" Chen looked around the chamber at the assembled species who had spent a century keeping humanity at arm's length, who had quarantined them for being too violent, too aggressive, too dangerous. "No," she said simply. "You know what we are now. You've seen what we can do when we're unleashed. That should terrify you. It should terrify us too. We'll go back to our corner of the galaxy. But remember this, you called us. Next time, maybe think twice before you need the monster to save you from the monster." She turned and walked away, her team following. The Council sat in silence, saved and somehow more afraid than before. They had wanted salvation. Humanity had brought the storm, and the storm was going home.